Right. Hey, everybody. This is Ted Kozlowski with DemandQuest, the DemandQuest Marketing Institute. Just want to check and make sure we're live. Are we good? Can you see us? We might be having some technical difficulties. I blame the Minnesota weather. It's kind of a cloudy, 40-degree, rainy day in Minnesota for those of you that aren't here, so it's a little nasty outside. But what I want to talk about today is remarketing. It's one of the things that I think a lot of people really don't take full advantage of. So I want to go through some simple things that we can do to make better use of the information that we get on our customers and show you how to set some of those things up. We're approaching Black Friday and Cyber Monday and the holidays in general, which for a lot of e-commerce clients and even B2B stuff, a lot of people start doing research on the B2B side, so they can get that first of the year start on new software, new services, new products. But before we get into that, we have to introduce my good friend Jenna from Celerity.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. And yeah, like Ted said, we're going to be talking about remarketing. And just a quick side note, please comment. We're going to be watching comments and likes and all of those things. And we're going to enter you in for a random drawing at the end so you can get some swag from DemandQuest, Google, and Celerity. And so we'll get that sent out after this day, and I can announce the winners too on our Facebook page if you'd like. And yeah, Ted, are we ready to go?
We're ready to rock and roll. Awesome. Thank you, Jenna. So one of the first things, we're going to use, this is a company that I just started working for called Russell and Hazel, and they're a really well-known brand. You can buy their products at thousands of different retail outlets, but they decided that they wanted to do some direct marketing this year. And they've got an e-commerce site. It's a relatively new site. It's built with Magento. It looks really pretty. It's got all of the appropriate features. But at this point, they haven't really set anything up from a remarketing standpoint. And so I want to go through, kind of how you do these things. Here, I got to move my face out of my own way here so I can get to the AdWords interface. But we created an AdWords account for Russell and Hazel. And so the goals here are to set up some remarketing campaigns that we can use, not just for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but that we can use, ongoing, year-round, 365, 24/7, to spend our display dollars a little bit more wisely than we normally would. I think a lot of times when I walk into new accounts, and that's really my job aside from running the marketing school, is I'm kind of the guy people call when agencies run into issues with some of their larger clients, when larger companies are having issues with campaign performance. And so I walk into a lot of accounts that I didn't necessarily set up. And one of the things I see quite frequently is that they're not using remarketing to all of its capabilities. A lot of times, even with large companies that are doing large spends, they might just have one or two different remarketing lists in their entire account. So it'll be, every visitor for the last 30 days, and then maybe every visitor that converted or every visitor that did something. But one of the first things I look at when I look at an AdWords account or an analytics account is how many remarketing lists are set up. And if I only see a handful, then I know we're absolutely missing opportunities. So within the Google AdWords interface, there's a couple different places to set these up. And I think it creates a lot of confusion because there's some things we can do within the AdWords interface and then also things we can do within Google Analytics in that interface. And we can use both of them. And there's reasons to do some on one side and some on the other. And so we're going to use the new interface today. And so when you log into Google AdWords, this is what it looks like. If you click this little settings bar, excuse me, it opens up our shared library. So it looks a little bit different than it did in the past. And so I'm going to open up the audience manager and see if anything's been set up here. And it looks like we do have a few audiences set up in analytics, but not a lot of activity going on here. And so one of the first things I want to do is create a new audience, just so everybody's aware of how to do it. I'm going to click on website visitors and do visitors of a page. If you're just setting this up for the first time, and maybe it's not working, but I like to do something like all visitors 365. And where the URL contains, I usually just do a backslash. and then I want to include people from the last 30 days. That's fine. So Google in the AdWords interface, you can go back a month because they're collecting all of this data, whether we're asking them to or not. And then I'll do something for the membership duration. Now, the important thing to understand here is when you're talking about membership duration, it doesn't mean you have to advertise to these people for 365 days. All it means is when a new visitor visits our site today, that cookie stays on that user's system until they delete it, which most people just don't do anymore. But otherwise, it'll stay on their system for 365 days. So what it does is it gives us the ability to go back and reach everybody that was on our website within the last year. Now, this isn't a list I often use from a marketing standpoint, but for me, it's kind of like the security blanket that, I had as a kid, right? Like being able to go out and reach everybody that had visited my site within the last year for a message, something specific, like we've got a new location, we've got a new product, we've got a new service. It really depends on the type of business that you have. If you are a company that gets a client and you really have no reason to communicate to that person ever again, then maybe you can exclude, past customers from a list like this. But by and large, one of the first things I do is create this kind of list. And then you can give it a description of all visitors 365. And so that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because I don't see that list here now. And so today we'll see everybody. You'll be able to go back 30 days and add all of those people to the list. But really, it's just everybody moving forward. We can't go back a year at this point. This is why I kind of set these up right from the get-go, whether I know we're going to need them or not. A lot of times, even before they decide, or one of my clients will decide to use Google AdWords, or do anything display-wise, I'll still set up an account. It doesn't cost any money to set up an AdWords account, and it doesn't cost any money to set up these lists. And it's better to have these things in a year from now if you decide the business goals are changed and you need that list, than to have to wait an entire year to get that base and to get that remarketing list created. So in addition to all visitors 365, one of the other things, again, I like to do at a very basic level is do something in relationship to time decay. So we all know, a visitor, if they came to the DemandQuest website, 364 days ago, and they haven't been back since, that visitor is probably a much less valuable in terms of someone likely to sign up for one of our classes or for an e-commerce site for them to buy one of their products. It's really about the amount of time. It's about recency. If you think about brick and mortar, one of the examples I like to use in class is when that person comes into the store and, what do they always say, right? The sales associate comes out and they go, "Can I help you find anything?" And the customer that walked in the door always says the same thing. "We're just browsing. We're just looking." And if they're a good salesperson, they'll say, "Well, great, let me show you some stuff," right? But unfortunately, in Minnesota anyway, we're not, our salespeople are way too polite for those kinds of things. But, the idea is if they just walk out of the store, or if you've got them while they're in your store walking around, it's probably the best opportunity to sell them your products and services. When they leave the store, if you said, if you actually went out in the parking lot and said, "Hey, you know what, I saw you looking at this, come back in and check it out," they might think you're a little crazy. But again, the likelihood that you can get them back in the store is probably higher, and their likelihood of purchase is a little bit higher. And then, they get home and then you send them a newsletter or a piece of mail the next day. There's probably going to be more value to a recent visitor to your store than is to somebody that, you wouldn't send a direct mail piece out to everyone that walked into your retail store 6 months ago, right? It'd be a lot more effective to send those postcards or send the direct mail piece to somebody that was in your store within the last week. And that's what remarketing allows us to do. It's also kind of the poor man's version of a real-time bidding platform. If you don't want to use, are we having concerns?
You had a question. Somebody asked how you got to that page again, please.
Oh, we had a question. Someone asked, how do we get to this page in Google Analytics? Let me back out of this or into Google AdWords. So from the main kind of interface, you go up to this little wrench up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen where it says Tools, Billing, and Settings. And then you go over here to your Audience Manager. And this is where all of your lists live to create these audiences. I guess I should back up a little bit. The first thing you have to do, I don't have any accounts where I haven't already gone through the process of adding the remarketing code to my client's website. But if you've never done that, it should prompt you. You have to put a little piece of code on your website, on every single page of your website. It's easiest to do this with the Google Tag Manager, but Google AdWords will walk you through the steps on how to do it, and there's plenty of resources on how to add that code to your site. It's different for every single website platform out there, so I'm not going to get into how you add the code to your site. But no, the first step in this process is to add a little piece of remarketing code to your site. Once you do it once, you never have to do it again. You can create as many lists as you'd like, just using that one piece of code. So back to this, again, I like to do a little bit of time decay. So I'll do all visitors, 30 days, URL contains / which basically is going to include every single visitor on our site, because there's really not a URL on a website that doesn't have a / in it. And then I'll go something like this, 15 days and do the same thing, 7 days, do the same thing, 3 days, do the same thing, and 1 day and do the same thing. And basically what this allows us to do, instead of kind of your typical by default 30-day remarketing list, you basically would have to bid the same for all of those visitors. So you're paying the same per click or CPM to show ads to somebody that hasn't been to our site for a month. You're bidding the same amount as people that were just on your site within the last day or last 3 days or last 14 days. And so if we all agree that recency and time decay are things that make our users more or less valuable, then it only makes sense that we would create remarketing lists based on the same kind of notion of time decay. That's what real-time bidding platforms do. They do it programmatically. But if you're a smaller company that doesn't have the budget and doesn't really necessarily want to spend extra money on your CPCs or CPMs, you can get away and do a really good job of this on your own using kind of the traditional tools from Google AdWords. And so what I like to do, if someone just showed up at my website but they didn't buy anything, or they didn't sign up for a class, or they didn't convert, I like to bid higher on those people for the next few days. All right, if you're just on my site, I want to increase the likelihood that you're going to see my ad and re-engage with my brand versus somebody that was on my site 30 days ago or 6 months ago or 365 days ago. And so you can set bids. If you create all of these remarketing lists in Google AdWords, you can create bids to say, I'm willing to spend $250 on a click for a visitor that's been on my site within the last 3 days but hasn't converted. If they've been on my site in the last 7 days, I'm willing to spend $2.25. If they've been on my site for the last 15 days, I'm willing to spend $1.75. If they've been on my site in the last 30 days, I'm willing to bid $1.50 to get those visitors back to my site. So it basically gives you the ability to bid differently on your customers depending on how recently they're on your site. And again, it doesn't cost anything to do this. It doesn't mean you have to use these audiences, but it's really helpful to have in your bag of tricks. Now, the next thing I want to go through, right now we're talking about targeting all visitors. But we all know that all visitors are not the same. If we're a larger company like Toro, for example, give me a second here. A lot of us work for companies that have, multiple products. So they've got products for homeowners, for golf courses, for professional contractors, for sports fields and grounds, agricultural, rental, government, underground, and irrigation systems. For Toro, having a list of everybody that visited their site in the last 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 365 might not be a bad thing to have. I don't know that I would use it except in real interesting scenarios. Let's say Toro gets acquired. They want to get a message out to all of their visitors that they've got a new product. Regardless, maybe new financing. There might be a reason in the future. Maybe they're attending a trade show. Maybe Toro decides to do a really cool Super Bowl commercial or Super Bowl ad that they want to show to everybody that's been on the Toro website in the last year. So there still could be a reason to use that list. But in addition to kind of the time decay, a lot of times, and it sounds like a lot of work, but I'll do the same thing based on specific products or different areas of a site. So if we click on homeowner, you'll notice in the top here, our URL contains homeowner. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to AdWords, and where the URL contains homeowner, I'm going to create a list of those visitors. And I'm going to do the same thing, all homeowner visitors. Oh, 3 days, 7 days, 15 days, and 30 days. And again, that's going to allow me now to segment my audience. And so I'm not showing ads for zero-turn lawnmowers and snowblowers to people that are interested in professional contractor products or sports fields or agricultural or anything along those lines. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. That's kind of the first main thing that we need to do is create those lists based on the actual products that the user is viewing. So if you can segment those products by brand, by size, by type, by whatever, depending on your business, it's really important to have those lists of people that are specifically interested in a handful of things. How's it going?
Pretty good. Signed up and I thought we were supposed to show up instead of 2
Oh, wow. We actually had our first live visitor to a virtual training experience on Facebook. I love it. Welcome. So you want to go through and set all those up based on the products that they're viewing. Now, the next thing is we all know that when you buy something on a website, you usually get a URL that's like thank you, right? Or order complete. Can you see this can you see my URL bar on this?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Okay, so right up here in the corner, right? At the end of an e-commerce purchase, or even if you register, and again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through a checkout process, but at the end of something important on your site, it's usually thank you for signing up for our newsletter. It's thank you for purchasing our product. Thank you for requesting more information. There's always that URL on your website that indicates someone has done one of those conversion actions. They've completed an order, they've downloaded some software, they've requested an appointment or a bid. In doing that, you want to make sure that you also create a list of people that have bought your products, right? So you do the same thing. So URL contains something along these lines, order complete, newsletter sign up, whatever it is. And so now you've got a list that you can exclude because there's nothing more annoying. And I've been shopping a lot, all those early Black Friday sales. We got new ski boots for the kids. I got new ski boots, new jackets, all that good fun stuff. And there's nothing more annoying than seeing the jacket I just bought from Helly Hansen be advertised to me over and over and over again. It's like I just bought the thing, right? You can turn the ads off at this point. It's not helping anything. And so having that list of order complete gives you that list in your remarketing that you can then exclude from seeing any of your ads. So let's not waste money on people that already gave us money. I use a phone service here at DemandQuest called Grasshopper, and it's basically a virtual voicemail system where you can press 1 for registration, press 2 for directions, and those kinds of things. Basically, every time someone calls, the phone rings my cell phone, but it makes it sound really cool. And it's really annoying. Every time I go and check my voicemail online, I go to grasshopper.com and I pick up their remarketing cookie, and they try and sell me the service that I already have. And so for Grasshopper, it would be something like this that you would want to exclude. I'm going to go to Grasshopper's website. And up here, I'm going to sign in like I always do. And so the minute the URL equals this, right, portalus.grasshopper.com, I want to go back in here and add that. If the URL contains portal.us.grasshopper.com, that absolutely means that I'm a current customer, right? So don't advertise the same product I just purchased or that I've purchased a year ago, especially when it's for a price less than what I'm currently paying, right? So if you can go through and exclude those people, it's great. And now what you can use this list for, you can do partners, right? Grasshopper may have some add-on services. If you're already using Grasshopper, maybe you buy this product from us and use something else. You can upgrade, you can downgrade, you can work with one of their partners. There's a lot of good reasons to have it. But one of the best reasons, and we're going to go through this, I can show you how this works, but with Google, the minute you create a list in your audiences, Google's going to create a lookalike list. They're going to call it similar to. I think Facebook's description is a little bit better. They say that it looks alike. And so by creating a list of people that have converted, have ordered something from you, have requested information from you, have signed into your service, now what Google's going to do is using their algorithm and using visitor behavior is they're going to find a whole bunch of people that look just like your customers that aren't already your customers. And it gives you another marketing list that you can go out and advertise to. And so, again, a lot of people will do this if we go back here and look at our audiences, we will see, by default right here, let me just increase this a little bit so you can see it. Right? Similar to AdWords optimized list, similar to all visitors. So this is automatically created. And basically what Google's doing is it's making a list of people that look like everybody that has visited our website based on their interests, their demographics, and their location. But not everybody that comes to my website actually decides they want to buy my products. And so where things get really, really fun from a digital standpoint is when you're creating lookalike lists for people that have already given you money, have already purchased your products, purchased your services, whatever that product may be. And so I'd encourage you to definitely create that list of people that have already, converted. Because one, you can exclude the people that have recently purchased from you, so you can turn off your ads and not really annoy them. But you can also create that lookalike list of people that look just like your customers and go out and market to those people. So those are kind of the two main things that we can do within Google Analytics. As far as separating or going through your site, if we look at Russell and Hazel, I might shop or I might create lists based on, do they like our mini binders and our acrylic and journals and calendars and leather goods? I'd probably have remarketing lists specific to each of their product categories. And so that way, if I really want to push a new mini binder that's coming out for Russell and Hazel, I don't have to show ads to all of the people that are really just interested in journals and notebooks or calendars and filing. So I'd go to mini binders, and you'll see the structure of the website up here in the address bar. Everything is part of that mini collection, so I can add that as if the URL contains mini-collection.html, those people are going to get on a list specific to people that are looking at these types of products. So I hope that all makes sense. Now, the second part of this is to create remarketing audiences in Google Analytics. There's a lot of things that you can do in Google Analytics that you can't do in Google AdWords in terms of lists. So again, we don't have a ton of time, so I can't go through exactly how to set this up, but we need Google Analytics on our site. Google Analytics has to be connected to your Google AdWords account. And we need to go over here into our audience tab in Google Analytics, and we are going to create a new audience. And audience definition, they have this thing called a smart list, which is Google. It's kind of Google's trying to be Facebook a little bit, and they're trying to programmatically or using their algorithm take information based on historical conversion data and estimate which users are most likely to convert during subsequent sessions. You go ahead and create one of these. I haven't had much success in advertising to these smart lists. And maybe some other web marketers out there have. So I'm not going to discourage you from doing it, but we're going to go through the process of creating a new remarketing list. But this time we're going to do it through Google Analytics. And all of these are going to be available to us as advertisers in our Google AdWords account. So one of the things you can do here is in AdWords, you can't create a remarketing list based on demographics. You can choose which demographics you advertise to. So if you create a list of all visitors, you can then say to Google on the AdWords side, I only want to show people this ad that are 18 to 24, 25 to 34, but you're not going to have a specific list for those demos. With Google Analytics, you can. So I can create a list of everyone that's a woman or a man or unknown and different languages. You can do different affinity categories. So affinity is something like, right here, lifestyle and hobby and art and theater aficionados. So if your business, if you look in Google Analytics and you see people that are into art and theater have a higher than average conversion rate, you can create a list targeting those people in those affinity categories, but people that have only been on your site. Like we all know in Google, we can target this affinity category as well, and we can target it against a remarketing audience, but we can't do it in line with things like the number of sessions, right? So I want to go, greater than or less than or equal to people that are art and theater aficionados, but that have been on my site 5 times. You can do data first session, the first time they came to our site. You can do days since last session, the transactions, right? So per user equals 5 transactions. So you could build a list of people that have been coming back to your site frequently and purchasing often. Now, wouldn't it make sense to have a list like this that we could really market to? I know, and I wish I could show you. I'm on my wife's computer. She sets my sweet wife Rachel sets this up for me. And so when I look at, twincities.com or something along those lines, I'm not seeing the ads I normally see, but I promise you, if I pulled up my computer right now, you would see a pair of Cole Haan boots on virtually every web page that I visit. Because I just bought a pair of Cole Haan shoes. I bought a pair of Cole Haan shoes 3 days ago. Oh, here we go. I was actually looking at these sunglasses, right? So we're seeing this, and I shop on Amazon a ton. I'm sure a lot of us do. But the whole idea here is you can really go after the people. Cole Haan and Amazon know if they keep hammering me with the products that I've been researching, the products that I've been buying, it's going to stay top of mind. And for me, I'm a sucker for it. It absolutely works. It drives transactions on these sites. You can also do this based on session duration. Now, again, this is what the real-time bidding platforms do. Even more simple ones like AdRoll, they increase their bid based on how much time they've spent on your site, how many times they've been to your site, how frequently they come to your site, and they automatically adjust your bids up for people that are showing a lot of interest but haven't yet completed purchase. And so we can basically create that same thing here. We can say sessions more than, days since less than, right? Number of transactions, 1 or greater, session duration, 30 seconds or more. So we can segment our users based on their behavior on the Google Analytics side and then create these lists and bring them over into Google AdWords to use for marketing. One of the things that I really like here, and this is something you absolutely cannot do without setting this up in Google Analytics, is you can create lists by traffic source. So in the case of Russell and Hazel here, it's a relatively new e-commerce site, but there is, I think it's Martha Stewart Living, exactly matches, maybe not, let's see here. Yeah, MSP Mag is a local magazine that really promotes our products. So they send a lot of traffic to our website. It's a referral source from MSP Mag. And those people, it has a ridiculous conversion rate. It's like a 10% conversion rate on our site of visitors coming from mspmag.com. So I can basically create a list of people based on a referral source. So if you have really good referrals from Walmart, MSP Mag, homeandgarden.com, whatever it is, wherever you're getting that good traffic that's converting on your site, now I can create a list based on those people, bring that over to AdWords, and really go after the people that had been on mspmag.com and then came to our website and have not yet purchased one of our products. You can also do it based on the keyword that they're searching, although keyword data kind of sucks right now. You have enhanced e-commerce. This is where things get even more interesting. Like prior to being able to do this in Google Analytics, we would have to do things like connect Salesforce.com, right? We'd have to have CRM data, which would show us who our best users were. Like we'd actually have to keep all of our data about customers and leads in a CRM, and then we'd have to import that through a flat file or an HTML file into Google AdWords to create a list of people that had given us money, had signed up to be a lead. Now we can do it based on revenue. So we can say, any person that gives us, greater than or equal to, $5,000 in revenue, I want to put that person on a really special list and make sure they see my ads every single day, all day while they're sleeping and everything else, right? Why not? It depends on the business that you're in as to whether or not you want to how aggressive you want to be. But isn't it nice to have somebody, you can do it by product category. If you have enhanced e-commerce enabled, you can do it by the brand, by the variants, by the category. So this is, again, it's awesome because this is where product variants, that can be my shoe size. Right, so when Cole Haan shows me shoes, guess what? They only show me shoes that are available in a size 10 because they know anything that's out of stock, I'm not going to be able to buy. And so they can put product variant contains, 10 or whatever it looks like for them. And now I'm on a list of people that like size 10 shoes, and they can show me products that I like that are also in stock as size 10. So when I click on that ad, it auto-populates the size for me and makes it easier to add into cart. And so,
The question.
We've got a question. Great.
Edwards, is it better to add audience lists on the page level or the product level? By product level, won't it get cluttered?
Yeah, it depends on how many products you have. We looked at Toro and they've got, 200,000 products when you add in all of their parts. So it really depends. There are some, specific, it really depends on the business. I wouldn't say by default to do it for every single product, but if you only have 5 or 10 or 20 different products, then it might make sense if they're vastly different. You really have to look at the organization of your products, right? So a toy company, this is kind of holiday. I worked for these guys for a long time. They're absolutely wonderful toy company. Creative kids stuff. It's based in the Twin Cities. They've got, a handful of retail locations, and they're in a whole bunch of airports all across the country. And so we would create remarketing lists for creative kids stuff based on brand, right? So we would have all of these that you see on the screen: Alex, Ambi, Ann Williams, Blue Orange, Do a Dot, Happy Kid, Legos, everything else. They would have their own remarketing list. Like, we couldn't do it for every single product, but we definitely did it on brand categories. But then there are things like magnetiles. Now, I don't know how much of my audience has small children. You really don't even need small children. You just need a bottle of wine. Magnetiles are so fun. I love these things, but they really only have like one product. I guess they've got a couple more, but they've got these magnetile sets of 33 pieces, and that's kind of it. And so for this one, at the time when we did this, they had 1 or 2 products. We actually did a remarketing list specific to this product, and it was one of the most popular products out there. So, creating a list for a product, it really depends on your business and the number of products you have. It doesn't hurt to, you can have as many remarketing lists as you want. It can clutter your account a little bit, but if you name them correctly and organize them well, who cares? They don't cost you anything, and you don't have to use them, and you can delete them if you want. So I would err on the side of creating more of these than less, and then just seeing how many visitors end up on these lists after 30 days. You're really not going to be able to do much with a list of less than 500 to 1,000 visitors. You need to get the traffic. And so a lot of times, if you're a smaller company, if you only get 1,000 visitors a month, it's going to be really hard for you to segment your list. You can still do it, and the data might tell you a pretty interesting story, and so it's still worth doing. But trying to advertise display ads or search ads to a group of people under 1,000 is really, really hard, and it's not going to be that productive for you. So let's go back to this really quick. The revenue, the product size. I think everybody can kind of go through this and figure it out. It's up to you guys to get creative in how you use this. But I promise you, if you're not doing this, you're going to miss. We all have data that talks about simple demo stuff. Who's the most likely to convert? Is it people 45 to 54, 18 to 24? Are they men? Are they women? What in market segment are they? Right? All of those things. And when you can apply that to visitors that were on your site and create remarketing lists, you're going to have a lot more. It's going to give you the ability to bid differently. What I don't want anyone doing over the holiday season is having the same bids across all of the visitors on your site. If you do that, your best visitors aren't going to see your ads as frequently as they should, and your worst visitors that are never going to give you money are going to see your ads probably more than they should. And so if we want to be effective and really manage our ad spend wisely, you have to create multiple lists, but it's really important to do it based on the data that you're seeing in Google Analytics. And so our time's up for the day. Please feel free to throw up some questions on Facebook. And honestly, I don't care if you throw questions up, today, tomorrow, next week, I'll do my best to try and answer all of those. You can also email me at ted@demandquest.com. That's TED@demandquest.com. I can't promise you I'll get back to you right away. It's a real busy time of year for us and all of our e-commerce clients. But I'll do my best to respond to you. So feel free to email, ask questions on Facebook, and have a wonderful holiday season.
Oh. Yeah, bye guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And again, I'll be posting some of this information to our site or to Celerity's Facebook page as well. And just quick reminder that DemandQuest has a lot of awesome classes. So frequently check out their site to see what they're offering. And sign up for the Celerity Scoop newsletter too while you're at it.
I'm going to be remarketing to you anyway, so you'll see my ads. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Did you watch on your phone?
know. I was trying to pull it up here so you could see what he was actually doing.